Over the last year, Salesforce has made massive steps forward with Agentforce. But if someone stopped you right now and asked, when do I use AI versus a simple flow? Could you give them a clear answer? Most people can't, and as a consultant, I see this as the largest hurdle to real return on investment and potentially technical debt. As a consultancy, we don't just look at the newest features, we look at your business priorities, what your goals are, and what issues you're trying to solve. We've all seen AI treated like magic fairy dust, where you just sprinkle it on every problem, but often the most elegant solution, the one that actually drives user adoption, is the simplest one. If your team finds a tool frustrating or slow, they won't use it. That's why the user experience, taking them on the journey, and great training is at the heart of any successful rollout. When the experience is repeatable and straightforward, you get the return on investment you were hoping for. And more importantly, your team stays enthusiastic about the change. Today, I want to show you a side-by-side comparison using a non-profit case management case study. We're going to look at logging interaction summaries, so client file notes, with two different tools, a Screenflow and an AI-powered Agentforce Agent. One of these is built for absolute control and data integrity. The other is built for analysis, critical thinking, and synthesizing raw data. By the end of this video, you'll understand which one is suited for the use case that we're trying to solve for. So let's get into the demo. So first of all, let's start off with the flow. We've created a custom button here that launches the flow itself, and then it will bring up the interaction summary, which is logging a file note against the case itself for a client meeting. So you can see here, this replicates the final record that we will see and all of the fields that we want to put in here. So it will start with the interaction summary name, and then we can pop in the main body of the note itself a bit further down here in the meeting notes. So this is all of the discussion that we've had with Jordan when we were face to face with him. Then we can go through the different bits of data here. So we've got confidentiality type, which is a global value set pick list. We'll pop this to public. Any of our advocates can see this. Interaction type, this was in person. We went to see Jordan face to face. Then we've got the interaction start time and date. So we did this today at 7:30. It was an early meeting. And then we were also finished by 8:30. So you can see here, it's a lovely way to add in different detail in a very structured environment. We've also got great control over validating the data as well. So say for instance, if we leave this interaction purpose blank, when we click on next, this will take us to a failure screen and allowing the user to know that we need to make sure that we fill in all of the details before we go forward and save the record. So we can go back to the case note and then we can go, yes, here we go. Interaction purpose, this was blank. So we can put this under client support here. We can also validate things like the start time and the finish time, because the finish time always has to come after the start time. So we can demonstrate this here. If I put the finish time to before the start time, we've also got another validation to make sure that we can't do that. So we can go back here and adjust the time to make sure that the time reflects the actual time that we met with the client, and the administration of that data is good. So once we're finished, we can go next and save that record. Or in a Screenflow, another thing that I really like is you can add in multiple records. The other strength is you can pull in different objects as well. So we can go from interaction summaries to a case to a contact. But with this example, we're just going to do interaction summaries. So we can toggle this button to true and it will take us back around the loop. And then we can start adding in another interaction summary. So we do have a second one here that we'll just quickly add in. And once we're finished with that, we can click next, and that will create the two interaction summaries for us here. So we can see here we've got those two interaction summaries that we've created. So that's the overview of the Screenflow. We can also do this with Agentforce. And this is going to be much more about analysis and helping us to add in the interaction summary, giving us much more assistance than the Screenflow would. So I'm going to paste this in here. So at the top, we've got, can we add in an interaction summary? And here are the details. So I'm just giving it here, the subject, the main body, and all of that detail that we've popped into the interaction summary. And I want the agent to analyze this and come back with a suggestion on how we can format it, what pick lists we should use. So it saves us the work of having to do that. So we can see here, it's given us the title, meeting with Jordan to discuss the support. It's got the time here as well, yesterday 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. So that's picked that up from the meeting note itself. We haven't told it that, it's just in the main body. It's also realized that we can't go forcing in values into a global value set that don't exist. So it's looked through and analyzed this meeting note, and it's suggested that for this pick list, it should be in person and the purpose was client support. It won't give you an option that doesn't exist in the value set because that's how we've coded it in the back end. And then we can go, yes, that looks great. Please log this. And there we go. We've logged that interaction summary. As you can see, these are two very different ways of creating an interaction summary. One is a bit more programmatic. The other allows you to add in a wall of text, and the Agentforce will help you to analyze that data and give you suggestions, and it's much more collaborative. Next, I'll show you the back end of each of these items. So in the Screenflow here, we can see it's very programmatic. It's if this happens, then do this. So we get the case ID, then we have the interaction summary screen, which is what we just saw when we were filling out the details. And if there's data missing, it will go to an error screen. Is the date set in the future? Again, we've got two different error screens here depending on that. And then it will collect all of the information, and then it will loop around if we select, yes, we want to create another interaction summary. And once we're done there, it will then create one or multiple interaction summaries. So it's very programmatic. When we dive into the back end of Agentforce, you can see it's using natural language, and it's a very different way of doing it. So instead of coding or programmatic development, we're going to be using natural language. So we're going to case management topic, and then once we're in that case management topic, we can have a look at the topic actions itself. In that case management topic, we've got here create interaction summary, and this will bring up the action that we've just triggered when we asked it to create an interaction summary. So it's using a flow. Once it's got the right details off of us, it will launch that auto launch flow, and then it will create the records for us. And you can see here's some of the agent instructions we've used. So it's using very natural language rather than if this then that statements. And then we configure all of the inputs as well. Again, using natural language to define how the agent works. And then it will use the Atlas reasoning engine and the large language model to give the outputs that we want based on the natural language that we've used. So what is the final verdict? The truth is, success in Salesforce or any technology platform isn't about picking the coolest technology. It's about making sure the solution aligns with your business goals and your internal processes. You want the best user experience that fits your specific budget and objectives. I like to think of a successful project as having three essential foundations all working together. The first is strategy. What keeps you pointed towards what actually works? Secondly, tactics, the system and tools that you use to execute that vision. And then thirdly, mindset, the focus required to see the project through even when things get difficult. If your goal is precise data entry, where you need to create multiple records across different objects with different guardrails, then the Screenflow might be the best fit for what you need. It ensures the data is clean and the user knows exactly what is expected of them at every step of the way. However, if your team is a little bit overwhelmed by unstructured data, like meeting transcripts or quick hand notes that we've created after meetings, Agentforce is a great option. It moves from manual entry to critical analysis and giving your team the support that they actually need and value when they need it. So what's my verdict? Don't over-engineer. Start with the core problem, not the tool. If a simple Screenflow solves the business priority and drives high adoption, that's a great option. You don't need a complex system to build momentum or good results. You just need the most effective tool and solution for the exact problem that you're trying to solve for. If you need much more interaction, analytical assistance, and automations, Agentforce might be that great option for you. And if this breakdown helps you see Salesforce in a new light, I invite you to join my monthly newsletter in the description below. It's where I share deeper insights into building systems that actually work. And if you want to see a more thorough demo of the Agentforce Case Management Assistant, I've linked to that in the top here. And it's a great example of how these tools can truly transform a workflow in an organization. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.